Hi friends, today we're going to make resurrection eggs. Take your cardboard egg carton and paint the outside. You can decorate it with stickers. And when you're done, write the words with a permanent marker. Write the words resurrection eggs. Once you've done that, then you will put inside your 12 plastic eggs. The eggs will have the numbers 1 through 12. Then take your bag of items that we have collected and dump them out. And as we tell our story, we are going to fill our eggs. That's my dog, Darby. She likes to talk. So the first egg, number 1, we're going to fill with the crackers. Don't eat them, but just put them in. And the crackers remind us of the Last Supper that Jesus had with his disciples. After he rode into town on Palm Sunday, he went up to the upper room and he broke bread with his disciples. And he sat there and said, one of you is going to betray me and one of you is going to deny me. They're going, no, Lord, it would never be me. But yes, Peter was told he would deny Jesus. And Judas dipped his hand in the bowl at the same time and then left because he was the one that would give away Jesus's schedule and everything that he would be doing that day. In egg number 2, we put in the 30 pieces of silver, and this continues the story of Judas. Judas sold Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Now he went to the Roman government and he said, I'll tell you where Jesus is. Just follow me. And that night when Jesus was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, he went up and kissed Jesus on the cheek. And that was his sign. And poor Jesus, it broke his heart saying, Judas, you betray me with a kiss? So we will always remember Judas every time we see the 3 pieces of silver. In egg number 3, when Jesus was betrayed by Judas, we're going to put in our toy soldier. Now, granted, this is not what the Roman soldiers look like, but it will remind us that they came and arrested Jesus. They took him, and during that time, Peter said, no, don't take my Lord, and he pulls out a sword and he cuts off an ear. But Jesus says, no, Peter, don't fight. This is not what it's all about. I am doing my Father's will. And Jesus picks up the ear and puts it back on. He does a miracle right there before the soldiers and all his 12. Then we're going to move to number 4. After they've taken Jesus, the disciples are hiding and kind of sneaking around. And one of the people see Peter and they said, weren't you one of his disciples? And Peter goes, me? No. And pretty soon another lady said, I saw you. You were with him. He goes, no, you must be mistaken. It was somebody else. And then somebody else comes up and says, you know Jesus. You're one of his followers. And he goes, no, it's not me. And then the rooster crowed 3 times. So we have a feather inside egg number 4 to remind us that Peter lied 3 times. Denied Jesus, just like he was told he would do. And then from that point on, Peter goes, I will serve you forever, Lord. And he did not deny Jesus again. In egg number 5, after they have taken Jesus, they made fun of him. And they said, you think you're a king? And they made him a crown with thorns. So be very careful. This is very pokey. This is a very small representation of the crown that was placed upon his head. Could you imagine being poked by thorns on your head? Blood dripped down his face. And that wasn't enough. They made fun of him, put a robe on him and said, you think you're a king? You're the king of the Jews. So take the piece of leather. They actually whipped him with 9 pieces of leather at one time. It was called a cat of 9 tails. And on the end of each one was a very sharp object from stones and broken pieces of pottery. And they whipped him on his back. And he was bleeding. So this also goes with the crown of thorns in number 5 to remind us Jesus willingly went, was willingly beaten, was willingly spit upon, made fun of, and was willing to die for us. In egg number 6, we put our cross. They then led Jesus up the hill of Golgotha, sometimes also known as the hill of Calvary, and they nailed him to a cross. And on each side of him, there were thieves, people that really did deserve to die, but not Jesus. Jesus had never made one bad choice. They put him up on the hill, and one of the thieves said, "Lord, Lord, you don't deserve this. I do. Please remember me when you get to heaven." And Jesus said, "This day you will be with me in my Father's house." So number 6 is the cross where Jesus died. Now, while Jesus is up on the cross, the Roman soldiers are making fun of him, going, "Ha, ha, ha, look at him. He thinks he's the king of the Jews." Well, in number 7, they decided, "I want his robe. It's so nice." And Jesus is on the cross and they're starting to fight. "I want his robe. I want it." Well, guess what they did? They played a game. They gambled. They took their lots and they rolled their dice saying, "Okay, who's going to get the robe?" So in number 7, we will put a dice and a representation of his piece of clothing, which is called a tunic, in number 7, to remind us that even the Roman soldiers that day, while he's on the cross, were still laughing, making fun of him, and gambled for his clothes. In number 8, while Jesus was on the cross, he got very thirsty, and he goes, "I'm thirsty." So they took a sponge and dipped it in some sour wine. It was like vinegar. And they put it on a stick and gave it to him to drink. But he didn't take it. It was not part of God's will. So number 8 reminds us that Jesus was human. He was thirsty. He hurt. He bled. He's just like you and me, but he was still willing to die. Number 9, all of a sudden, the sky started to turn dark. The sun disappeared, and there was a big earthquake. In number 9, we will put a little bag of dirt to remind us. Jesus yells out and says, "It is finished." And at that moment, the veil in the temple tore from the top to the bottom by the hand of God. The earth quaked and the sun was gone. It was dark. And even the Roman soldiers said, "Surely he was the Son of God." So in number 9, put your dirt. In number 10, they took down his body, and there was a man named Joseph of Arimathea, and he had a tomb. You see, Jesus didn't. They didn't know where to put him, and Joseph went to the government officials and said, "Please, could I have his body?" And they took it down, and they wrapped it in the gauze. So this represents the wrappings that they put around the body. And when they wrapped the body, they would put on myrrh and incenses of different flavors. And if you remember, when Jesus was born, they gave him myrrh. Once again, we find myrrh in the life of Christ when he was buried. So Joseph took him, wrapped his body, and placed him in the tomb. So number 9, we put the gauze. Then number 11, we have a stone. You see, the government was afraid somebody would try to steal the body of Jesus. So they rolled a giant stone in front of it. They closed it, they sealed it, and they put guards in front saying, "Now nobody can get to him. They will not steal. His body will be there." This rumor of him disappearing in 3 days. They were wrong. After 3 days, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb to put more myrrh and incenses on the body. And when she got there, the stone had been rolled away. It was impossible. The guards were gone. She looked inside. He was gone. Jesus really had risen just like he said. He was gone. He was risen. And in number 12, it is empty because the tomb was empty. Jesus is alive. He is risen. That is the story of Easter, friends. All in your 12 little eggs. Now, you go and tell somebody else the true story of Jesus, how he loves us and how he died for you, but he didn't stay dead. He rose from the grave. He is the only person ever to rise from the dead and go to heaven. Happy Easter, everyone.